Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ITTF Seamaster 2017 World Tour Platinum Qatar Open, coming to you live from Doha, Qatar. I'm your commentator, Adam Bobrow, and with me, Richard Prowse. How you doing, Richie?
Yeah, thanks, I'm fine.
Good, we've got an exciting match here. It's the women's singles quarterfinal, the last one of the day before we move on to the semifinals. There's FENG Tianwei of Singapore, a legend of the sport, who came originally from China, left the country, spent 2 years playing in Japan before connecting with Singapore, and has brought a lot of fame and fortune to the sport, taking down Team China in 2010 at the World Championships. FENG Tianwei responsible for 2 singles victories. Her opponent, Yuting, from China, on the other side of the table, will be a very interesting battle. These two players have only played never before, so you can't get much less than that. It's their first time on the World Tour. FENG Tianwei currently world rank number 4, the 3rd seed in this tournament at 30 years old in the red shirt with the fancy hairdo. And Yuting was world rank number 74 in December of 2015, but hasn't had any experience on the World Tour since. Her highest world ranking was 32. She's the 22nd seed of the tournament, and 22 years old. She's an Youth Olympic Games gold medalist in 2010 in singles. So we'll see how these two match up.
Well, I think usually FENG Tianwei, as she's used to general the Asian style, you mentioned that from 2010, where really she took 2 points against China. Very much this way experience, but whenever a Chinese girl is going abroad to play for China, for sure she's a woman to watch. And to my point of view, I wouldn't do any bets right now who's the favorite. To my point of view, maybe a bit the favorite there in case of FENG Tianwei can read the service. She's like left-hand style Yuting, as we know here, but difficult to see.
Right, and also one thing you mentioned as far as the international exposure factor, if you're not one of the big 4 players, you're not Ding Ning, Lu Shiwen, Chen Meng, or Zhu Yuling, I mean, really, it's sort of a limited opportunity anytime China allows you to play representing the country outside of China. So there is a bit of extra pressure, and also, while FENG Tianwei has played in the Chinese Super League, it's still sometimes a bit of pressure playing against a different style, someone who isn't trained in China quite as much in recent years. You know, it's not a huge thing, but Li Jie, for example, is very interesting. I had a conversation with Elena Tamina. Li Jie didn't play for the national team. She didn't play for a provincial team. She played for her city, and really over 8 years in Netherlands, developed her game there. But this isn't quite the same for FENG Tianwei. I mean, when I talked to FENG Tianwei a few years ago, she said when she left China, she was about number 15 on the squad, which means she's probably just going to be a practice partner, not get many opportunities to play internationally. So for her, the career choice worked out smashingly. I mean, she's been in the top 5 in the world and right around there for as long as I can recall. And this is all playing for Singapore. And while it's been a little bit shaky recently, I've heard that they found a nice compromise and looking to work together, Singapore and FENG Tianwei. So here she is. It should be an exciting best-of-7 gamer.
As for sure, as I know also FENG Tianwei, she's very much the one who's leading the Singapore team all the time, not only since 2010, also when she won bronze medal in so on. I mean, she's really a sports star, not only a table tennis star, but also a big sports star in Singapore.
That's right, she was voted Athlete of the Year. If you fly Singapore Airlines, don't be surprised to see her name in the papers.
Let level.
Outstanding recovery. We were talking earlier about how rare it is to see someone with a solid forehand flip short. FENG Tianwei sets up the point well, but quick to turn from the middle. Yuting with a lot of spin.
For me, what I like about FENG Tianwei is that she's able to move, a little bit far away from the table, that she's having this both wings, topspin, that she's able also to play close to the table.
She's very steady, and her reaction time is excellent. She can take the ball quite early, which I think is one of the many reasons she has been so effective against the top Chinese players.
Definitely. and she can keep up also with the speed, but also on the same time having some extra variation there.
Perfect example,
Yeah.
exactly what you were talking about. A forehand flip from Gu Yuting, FENG Tianwei from off the table with 2 big shots comes right back in. Look at that, that's not just a retrieve, this is someone who's counter-attacking while she's backing up.
Exactly, and at the same time she's able to play this back and close to the table.
3-1.
Now, talking to FENG Tianwei, 30 years old, if you're playing for the Chinese national team, is the end of your rope. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen a female play past 30. I mean, Li Xiaoxia retiring at 28. FENG Tianwei has no intentions of slowing down or stopping. She said she wants to play past the age of Li Jiao.
Which is now?
Well, Li Jiao was 42 last year, I think, at the Women's World Cup, or 2 years ago now, when she beat Zhu Yuling.
And to be honest, I can also 100% understand, because she's really at her peak. She has to listen maybe a little bit more to her own body. But if you see also in the men's teams, Vladimir Samsonov, he gets to the semi-final with the age of 40.
Right, his best Olympic performance after all these years is at 40 years old.
2-4.
Now, FENG Tianwei also not a flashy serve, but the placement, the height, the variation, I mean, she's very wise about her serves.
Again, it's the connection I like there behind. Like, she's coming with the uphand, with the upspin service, the hand is already up. It's coming with the downspin service, it's a little bit, the next ball is already prepared. Very well connected in her strokes.
Now, so far what we've seen from Gu Yuting, she takes a little bit bigger strokes, a little longer strokes than some of her teammates. That can be very expensive against FENG Tianwei. But if she sets up the shot, then it's going to be quite threatening as well.
Seemed to me also, especially with the forehand, the timing is a little bit different. The acceleration is a little bit different, but maybe because the movements are quite long, sometimes you get back this ball twice in the forehand, she might be a little bit late.
Lit. 4-all.
But very aggressive style. And from I can judge right now, it's also very high quality in the single strokes.
4.
Like this, for example, very good short ball there. Not only like long aggressive or like a aggressive spin, sometimes also the short receive can be very aggressive.
Yeah, she took that one very well, took it right off the bounce.
6-4.
But also the way she did, the way she came into the ball, still the point before last, generated quite a lot of underspin.
Exactly, and that's what I tried to explain with aggressive. Yeah? She really wants to control the ball, cut the ball short. Let's get it very difficult for the opponent.
6-5.
Just imagine what feeling Gu Yuting might have to have the chance to compete with FENG Tianwei and maybe to have a chance also to beat her in the Qatar Open.
6.
Well, if that stomp didn't put fear in the opponent, my goodness, it's a wake-up call. Heavy stomp, and I think that comes back to the aggressive, you know, the spin on the short game on her serve as well. She really just wants to power up at the point of contact. Very fast racket motion. Names on screen, clearly not the women you're watching.
Very good. Very good counter spin there, like after this good backhand topspin from FENG Tianwei. Maybe we see in slow motion there this counter spin.
8-6.
And this is what really impresses me right now. Again, this short, aggressive receive. If you want to play this ball one more time short, for sure it's not short, it's half long. And she's reacting, Gu Yuting, on this ball with a very fast forehand topspin.
9-6.
This is really going to be up to FENG Tianwei. Playing that long push, she's going to have to either figure out something more aggressive if it's going long, more surprising, or try to keep it short and take it early because Gu Yuting's third ball is too big.
Lit.
Especially if it's a clear
6.
decision from early in the point.
6-10.
I had the feeling till 6-6 then FENG Tianwei was still looking for the tactique, finding the way. But from 6-6 now, Gu Yuting really took this extra step.
Let.
This is short,
6,
aggressive,
10.
followed by a very strong forehand topspin. Not that easy to stop Gu Yuting.
Let. 6-10.
And in case you're at all confused by the score on the screen, Fan equals Gu Yuting, who has 4 game points.
7-10.
And FENG Tianwei equals Yoshida right now on screen. So FENG Tianwei saves 1 game point, has 3 left to go. Nice
10,
step around, setting
8.
Tianwei, keeping the serve tight enough. And this is what she has to do even in the receive game, I feel, is just make sure she gets the first attack. There has to be some pressure early on because Gu Yuting too comfortable with that opening shot, and the percentages are going to go way down if she gets the first attack, or at least for FENG Tianwei.
Let. 10-8.
And there it is, Gu Yuting with the big opening backhand to take it. Sets up the 3rd ball in 11-8. Back and forth for Yuting. Just really finding a way to set up that 3rd ball. And FENG Tianwei, again, has the real challenge in the receive game right here is how I feel about it.
Yeah, first of all, I think the receive of FENG Tianwei is not that precise, giving Gu Yuting always the chance, or very often the chance, to follow by a very, very strong backhand or forehand topspin. And to my point of view, FENG Tianwei has to think about what kind of service it's of the game. She started to have this service a little bit shorter, and Gu Yuting was answering with a very aggressive short receive. In a way, short aggressive, that FENG Tianwei was not able to play this ball one more time short, but only half long when Gu Yuting was attacking this ball afterwards. At the end of this game 1, FENG Tianwei changed a bit the service, a little bit more upspin service, followed by 2 times a good forehand topspin. Maybe this could be a way. And then again, to have a look to play not too easy in the forehand or in the backhand, but like maybe to go for the ball backhand down the line. This might be a way to avoid this first very strong forehand topspin from Gu Yuting.
1 love.
Again, not an easy ball. Gu Yuting with the reach out in front, playing the line.
I like the way Gu Yuting is moving. Very steady, very off the table.
Love. 2.
And FENG Tianwei has really trouble in reading the service of Gu Yuting in the right way.
Well, this is going to make for a very uphill battle, a very difficult match for FENG Tianwei. I mean, if she can't read the serve very well, and she's got the power and spin in such a loose opponent who's so versatile right now.
Let. Love.
It's going to take away the game. FENG Tianwei gets a lot of balls back on the table, creates nice angles in the rally. She's just been overpowered in most rallies. And while this one wasn't clearly overpowering, I mean, Gu Yuting just generates a lot of spin. Yeah, and then a little bit of side spin on that ball from the middle.
Should have moved a little bit faster, FENG Tianwei there, from right to the middle.
3-1.
Also, FENG Tianwei from style of, she's like a modern style, of course, but she has not this backhand banana flick in this way. Gu Yuting has not so much side spin. It's still a little bit, very little bit older style in this way. Not that advanced in this small things like side spin, upspin, side spin, down spin when doing this receive.
Right, there are sort of classic elements out here. We were talking last week in India about how many of the women's games are starting to convert to be more similar to the men's game. How much power there is. Also with the step around forehand, we're seeing, you know, the women's game, there's a lot of backhand to backhand because of the short strokes, and it just takes less out of the shoulder for quicker, shorter shots. but we're seeing more forehand-dominated games. Sabina Winter's a great example of physical fitness in the forehand.
Exactly, yeah. Moving around, turning around, not only relying on backhand, but actually in this game, FENG Tianwei has to try to search this backhand down the line. Maybe that's a chance for her.
3, 4.
And she's used the long serves very effectively, I feel. Deep on the table, she gets a more predictable, still spinny ball, but she's predicting that, starting the rally early, and counters well, keeps the racket head up, uses her opponent's spin to take the point.
Five, 3.
That's usually the classic style, how to play against lefties, to move them into the deep forehand. But you see how fast Gu Yuting is there, just like switching the direction directly in the middle and forehand of FENG Tianwei. And FENG Tianwei also, you have the feeling she's more active in the beginning, losing the point because Gu Yuting is just moving very, very fast into the forehand.
5.
Both so much power, but FENG Tianwei anticipates well, gets the first one back in play. When you have such a big stroke, it takes a little bit longer to recover. Just a little bit later on that second ball, and Gu Yuting doesn't connect.
Beginning, this connection has to be, and maybe Gu Yuting sometimes overpowering
4.
if the
6.
movement is getting too long. But like, she's keep on playing like this, it would be really difficult for FENG Tianwei.
Right, she's spraying it around on the table now too. She's got FENG Tianwei up on one foot, backing off the table a little bit. And with such a long stroke, if your opponent's off the table, you have time to recharge and keep hitting those huge forehands. FENG Tianwei has to take the ball earlier in the block.
4, 6.
Talking about long movements, I mean, if you see the direction of the movements, they are getting a little bit longer altogether again. Before, everybody kept on saying the movements has to be
4,
short in order
7.
to take the ball off the bounce or when the ball is on the highest point. Meanwhile, if you see Ma Long or Zhang Yike or even Gu Yuting now, the movements are a bit longer altogether again.
Right, I think it comes down to physical fitness.
4,
In
7.
theory, if you hit your best shot with the longest stroke all the time and still recover, you would.
Yeah.
7, 5.
There's that shovel serve, half long. So FENG Tianwei able to shut down, get the first attack, make sure that Gu Yuting didn't attack right away.
Nice placement of the ball from
Right.
FENG Tianwei.
Was just thinking this is why you see players with bags of balls practicing their serve and the length and varying it up so that when the show is on and you're on the TV table, they're all tight. The serves are just right.
7, 5.
Receive a little side and under from FENG Tianwei, just enough to deter the third ball. She's playing it deep here too, but she doesn't show until the last moment so that Gu Yuting doesn't have a clear, easy setup, has to sort of improvise and doesn't have the balance that she wanted.
Nice, very well played from Gu Yuting. 2 times in the forehand, and then after, when she usually you expect a little bit softer ball from the backhand side, she was even accelerating, and you see right in the middle of the table, no chance for FENG Tianwei to catch that ball. I'm really impressed.
Even though FENG Tianwei comes back faster with the backhand, it's the cross-court backhand with power from Gu Yuting. She's not afraid to challenge the open forehand.
And usually I was expecting if FENG Tianwei will have a chance after this first game, maybe she should go for the backhand down the line because she's very early. But you see directly Gu Yuting was switching to the deep forehand, opening the side. Good swing, very good swing, very high quality of the ball.
Thinking about that backhand-to-backhand rally that FENG Tianwei might want to pick, I see the danger because Gu Yuting can play that wide cross-court shot, and it's just going to stretch FENG Tianwei on the wings. Best point I've seen in some time, and Gu Yuting takes it 11-6. FENG Tianwei played throughout that point so well. Counter taking the ball early, finally stepping, but not back much. It's Gu Yuting who's deeper off the table.
At the end, the main difference is there. FENG Tianwei is trying to control the ball, trying to use the power of Gu Yuting. But Gu Yuting is that fast that she can always accelerate this extra step, accelerate this extra percentage, and then at the end, the more active one is winning. That's why, to my point of view, Gu Yuting well deserved 2-0 up.
Right, the physical fitness, I mean, we've got the strength, we've got the long stroke, but the speed and the strength combined, even though she's behind the table, she's gonna keep getting to the ball, and it keeps her in the rally, and it keeps her a threat. You know, she's got the power, well, first the power to be a threat from behind the table, and the speed to reach the ball and cover the ground.
Yeah. The only chance from FENG Tianwei is right now if she's really keeping calm, trying to search for solutions, trying to change timing, and then at the same time, Gu Yuting might rush a little bit too much and giving FENG Tianwei maybe some easy points in order to come back altogether.
Love, 1.
It's been a while since I've heard a show like that from Gu Yuting. First point of game 3. Just more reason to understand the importance of taking an early lead.
See, this is technically wise. I like this style very much because on this long, you see how long the movement is, and at the same time the acceleration of wrist, underarm, and the whole body. That all together is so explosive, this forehand topspin, and even for a player like FENG Tianwei, who is really able to control many topspins, like this, for example, sometimes is simply overpowering her.
And just to be clear, to cover a lot of people, underarm also known as forearm to many people as well, right? So yeah, deep serves. She's playing quite unpredictably as well. Even in the short game, from a stature standpoint, Gu Yuting, you can see, is the taller of the two players. Gets in, but because she's loose, is able to use the wrist, generate a good amount of power from way out in front.
Great, great. Like starting with this short receive, I thought, okay, this receive is aggressive, but then FENG Tianwei took the chance there. And then whenever she has the chance to really step inside, not only with the hand, but also with the legs, with the whole body, it's no way to stop her.
4, 2.
I'm so impressed with Gu Yuting's game. Think about, you know, the constant trials to make it to be one of the top 4 in China and who's on the rise. And with the absence of Li Xiaoxia, you know, Chen Meng might seem to be the number 4 player, but you still have a few players that are right there sort of chasing. And Gu Yuting, I think, is making a great case for herself so far in this tournament.
And it will be really interesting tonight at the semi-final between Chen Meng and Shang Xiaona. For sure, it will be like an interesting match because all these matches we see now between a Chinese and a foreigner, will be for battling for a place, for a slot at the World Championships in Düsseldorf later on this year.
Three, 5.
It reminds me of when Mutsa came out.
Yeah.
We just didn't, you know, just occasionally someone pops up and at a tournament with all the big names still manages to surprise everybody, just like Fang Bo did in Suzhou, making it to the final and beating his teammates, going all the way to Ma Long. 4-2 victories, quite tough.
4, 5.
Nice low serve, a little bit on the shorter side of half long.
Six, 4.
You see, usually I was expecting Gu Yuting was stepping backwards. Maybe we can see her in slow motion after. Now I was expecting her to step backwards, but you see here, directly she's moving with her hand towards the ball. You feel at this moment FENG Tianwei has not the weapon to really get some extra pressure.
She's pulled it out on a few occasions and it's been diffused. Gu Yuting comfortable in the block. Even that point you just spoke about where she stayed in and started moving back into the table, it showed confidence in her backhand that she didn't have to turn around the backhand and take a later ball on that forehand.
4,
very aggressive, very heavy spin. The use of her wrist is really unbelievable. I mean, we saw before with the other quarterfinal also something with a backhand with a Chinese girl who was really like tremendous with this backhand, with changing the balls down the line, parallel, diagonal.
Yeah,
But
Wang
now,
Manyu.
Wang Wangyu, exactly.
4,
But
9.
what Gu Yuting, and I didn't see her before, I'm really also impressed there. How she's playing, how aggressive she's playing. And FENG Tianwei is simply not everybody.
10, 4.
I'm not sure if that sound, I don't know if you could hear the sound that I heard or if that was something the players were able to hear. But either way, 6 game points for Gu Yuting.
10,
And finally, a
5.
deep push that seems to disturb the rhythm for a moment of Gu Yuting. I mean, that was as fast and deep as they come, and still a very aggressively spinny backhand attempt. Even the way she bounces the ball off the ground is aggressive. I mean, this is someone who's pumped. How many times, right? I mean, FENG Tianwei has to make an amazing block to get the first one back. She does, and Gu Yuting's right there and still loaded with ammo for another bullet. Look how long and the stroke, look how far behind she's reaching and how low the racket is. This could be the future of table tennis in the women's game.
Might be, because the way she's playing, it's not only aggressive, still at the same time she's hitting the ball, she's playing fast and spinny. What is like not that common. Sometimes you have these spinny spins and sometimes you have these fast spins. Like for Gu Yuting so far, the way she's playing, it's spinny, it's heavy and fast at the same time. And FENG Tianwei really has to think it over in order to come back to this match. Maybe with the help a little bit of Gu Yuting, that she's overpowering, this might be. But so far, she's doing a very good job here altogether, being 3-0 up against FENG Tianwei. FENG Tianwei, to my point of view, maybe a bit passive, but probably due to the fact that Gu Yuting is really totally in control of the whole game. No problems in receiving, really big advantage after her own service. Difficult task for FENG Tianwei.
1, love.
Right, she just doesn't seem, she seems to be caught off guard by a variety of shots here. Spin placement, you know, if the first ball comes in very deep and FENG Tianwei knows where it's going, she can counter it back and use her opponent's spin, but she never knows where it's coming.
1-all.
This is going to be a tough request, but a forehand flip like that consistently will be quite dangerous for Gu Yuting.
And still, I believe even she flicked that ball, it was a little bit like I hit and hope. It doesn't feel that consistency as usually FENG Tianwei is playing. She really has to. We had that before, leaving the comfort zone, but she has to really try a lot in order to stop Gu Yuting.
Two, all.
Well contacted on the under half of the ball there. Again, not a lot of follow through, but coming into the ball with a lot of wrist motion. I think that's actually a big part of the reason it was so deceptive, is that there was little follow through for Gu Yuting to see.
Three.
The stomp, all the motion coming into it. Still, where's the timeout? It's a close game right here, but it's pretty late in the match for FENG Tianwei.
I wonder, FENG Tianwei is playing without coach, what I see here. So
could expect any timeout to be much later. FENG Tianwei has other things to focus on.
Three, all.
I noticed that as well. Players without coaches in the corner tend to take later timeouts. Every once in a while, we'll see someone say, it's early and this is crucial.
Yeah.
These are often the players that end up becoming coaches later. They just have such insight for the game.
Yeah.
Really able to separate and analyze well.
But as we heard in the beginning, FENG Tianwei is planning to play the next 12 years, so she will be not in the coach's business so far, at least not that early.
She loves the game, she loves the competition, she wants to be out here competing.
But you see here again, this very good forehand flick, But this time Gu Yuting just fast enough to come back, to just use the power against FENG Tianwei.
And she knows to keep it deep on the table, too, to cause trouble to FENG Tianwei after coming in.
3,
This is
4,
one more reason that physical strength is so important, to come in for that ball and still recover for the deep shot following up.
Difficult. You
5,
saw already,
3.
I thought in the moment she's getting to this spinny ball, that's really heavy. And you see how much FENG Tianwei, see there, so much spin in the ball, and more spin than FENG Tianwei usually is used to control. Not that often that FENG Tianwei is missing this first block on the table.
Right, I mean, she's played with the world's best time and time again, beating Liu Shiwen. Finally, a ball that's out of reach, and this is, you know, a risky shot. She steps around the side of the table for the forehand flip. FENG Tianwei backing up just a little bit, but not much, and still has to really just use some wrist to snap it back to the open table. Now, it was 2 shots ago now, 2 points ago, but if you were to measure the distance from the start of Gu Yuting's racket when she drops it to the point of the ball, and the distance from the ball to where she
4,
stops her swing,
6.
I think the backswing is longer than the follow-through, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, for sure. But we always come back to this fact, as Ma Long, for example, or also Dmitry Ovtcharov. Yeah, the movements are getting longer, and you have to be always ready to come back as
4,
fast as
6.
possible. And even the movement are that long. Meanwhile, our top athletes are able to produce more than one shot.
4, 7.
And this looks like an easy mistake, but again, it was aggressive shot. We can maybe see in this slow motion how much spin is inside the ball and how much the ball is really jumping out of the racket of FENG Tianwei.
7.
Here's a very aggressive backhand from the middle of the table. FENG Tianwei trying to take control here.
But it's already against the regular timing of FENG Tianwei. FENG Tianwei has to start risking even a little bit more. And to my point of view, this is something also FENG Tianwei doesn't like. FENG Tianwei gets this always this, how to say, this steady spins, this steady control. And she doesn't like the style of Gu Yuting, who's always coming with this extra quality inside.
And we hear her grunting to get the extra spin and speed on the ball. Gu Yuting with the vicious shots. It's the combination we've been talking about. Spin, speed. This one relatively deep on the table, but still low to the net as it crosses. It's just a quality shot every time. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And also FENG Tianwei, she really cannot find a way when she's playing deep to the backhand of Gu Yuting. Sometimes down the line, sometimes cross court. Now she would have been ready to turn around. So it's so many different options that Gu Yuting offers FENG Tianwei, and FENG Tianwei doesn't find the solution to stop Gu Yuting.
Yeah, Gu Yuting is pretty well insured with that third ball and pretty much any point in the rally, it seems. Finally, a perfectly placed serve that causes some indecision. I was thinking when you were talking about what FENG Tianwei has to do, and here's a timeout that is it's early in the match in terms of, you know, hasn't dropped a game yet. This is a very positive timeout, making sure that nothing, it's not trying to save, it's just trying to hang on to the lead and keep what you already have here. You know, I wanted to mention briefly, Gu Yuting started off in this tournament beating Miu Hirano 4-1. Miu Hirano, invited to play the Chinese Super League, holds the Women's World Cup in 2016. So a 4-1 victory on the international stage for Gu Yuting, quite impressive. Right after that, Du Hoi Kem, who beat Liu Shiwen in the first round of the Olympic qualification tournament in Hong Kong, 4-0 for Gu Yuting. So these are not nobodies she's beating. She's beating the up-and-comers of the free world in the game, you know? I mean, she's got 2 of the top players just destroyed on her way here. FENG Tianwei, on the other hand, beating Minnie Su, who, again, on her way up on the world's junior circuit champion. And then after that, a 4-2 victory over Li Jie. So Gu Yuting definitely taking some big names along the way. This is the best shot I've seen from FENG Tianwei, as wide as they come, in a flip at that.
And very good technique, like something between a flick and a spin, actually, how she's jumping to the ball.
Relatively big stroke.
10, 7,
So one more point for Gu Yuting, and the timeout will have succeeded. She's split the points so far, but again, it's that full stroke. It all comes back to physical fitness, speed. She's making many shots in a row, and FENG Tianwei is just forced into submission. 3 match points.
Good return here. You see the last moment when she opens the wrist there into the deep forehand. Usually that's the classic style, how to play against lefties. But we saw that often that Gu Yuting is recovering with this big backhand swing, but this time she missed it.
So 1 match point saved. Now the serves on the side of FENG Tianwei. Wow, that was very risky. I thought the match was over for sure with the length of that serve. She invites the opening forehand attack, but counters it quickly right into the body. Has to stay right on top of. One more serve. Let's see what she's got up her sleeve. Outstanding deja vu.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe she did it again. The first time it seemed like a mistake. She does the exact same thing. Gives the opening attack to Gu Yuting, plays a risky shot from the middle, goes to the backhand-to-backhand game from behind the table, and still takes the point. It's a strong start to the point, plays it wide to the forehand, the classic, what you were saying, wide forehand and then deep to the backhand, but doesn't land the second shot.
Yeah, this time FENG Tianwei was not counting on this little bit side spin Gu Yuting was producing there. Not that easy to play this ball down the line.
All.
So 4th match point saved.
And she struggled a bit with receive altogether. She was hesitating there. This time also a little bit less aggressive as we've seen before. A little bit higher receive, giving FENG Tianwei the chance to follow up with a very good forehand topspin.
That's a tough one with the wingspan of Gu Yuting. Obviously not an intentional receive. Maybe trying to keep it short, but just a bit too high. Still almost keeps the ball in play, but you can see how frustrated she is about that decision.
She should have just pushed that ball long, doesn't matter, and forward or on backhand, just like to be in the rally.
I think that's definitely how she feels. Another match point for Gu Yuting.
12. All.
Heavy underspin serve, half long to the middle there on the forehand side.
This time she tried again to have this very aggressive receive.
You know, I really like the after motion too from FENG Tianwei. It was when you and I played our match and you did the Lu Goliang serve. Reminded me of that. And this feels like the way, the recipe that Gu Yuting has been using. She's just steady turning the corner. She's got the spin shot opening up.
And she was ready to turn around directly after this backhand.
So another match point against FENG Tianwei. Little help off the top of the net, but this time the long serve does not work out for FENG Tianwei. It is Gu Yuting, 22-year-old, who moves on and adds FENG Tianwei to the list of names with Miu Hirano and Du Hoi Kem that she has knocked out of the tournament. Gu Yuting of China will be making a case for why she should play in Dusseldorf at the end of May in the World Championships, but first she'll be playing in the semifinals later today. Outstanding match. And here's the recap of the scores on screen. 4 straight games over FENG Tianwei, and while the last was no simple task, an impressive clean sweep from the young Chinese player Gu Yuting, who you'll be seeing later on today. Stick around, we've got more matches coming up for you. You're watching the Seamaster 2017 Qatar Open.